Hey everyone, Julian here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make hard-hitting modern disco house. To go along this video, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI presets. The entire template from this track that you just heard in the intro is available at the top of the description on my website. Definitely go grab that awesome template that'll really get you started and help you make the best disco house track of your life. Links at the top of the description. Thanks for the support, everybody. Every little bit helps, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're at 125 BPM, right? Pretty standard house stuff. We start here with the side chain. It's just the kick, and then I literally just took this tiny short part of it. First sound we've got here is the bass line. Now, the bass line might look crazy. It's really not too complicated. We're in the key of A sharp minor, so if you look at this musically, we're going, okay, so it would be like root note, ninth, minor third, fourth, sixth, and also the seventh down here. Right, but it's just the way that it's walking up that scale. And the way I generated this bass line is it's actually listening to the sample. You have to get the sample right first. Right, I had that, and if you listen, you can actually kind of hear this bass line in there. You hear how it does that? It's going dun 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 dun, and it's walking up the scale like that. It's just really quiet. Right? So I just listened to that and then recreated it with a synth. And that's really important too. It's not just like making a fat bass line, but it's like, how can you get that to be really cohesive with the sample, right? Because you want it to all sound really clean when you play it together. Now, for the actual sound, it's made with operator. It's really just a simple FM bass, right? But you can get this nice, almost like bass guitar type of texture if you just do the FM where you have the sine wave and then another sine wave FMing it, but it's an octave down. So you get kind of, like I said, like that more interesting, kind of deeper texture. Then we got a low pass filter, pretty simple stuff. It's got key tracking, side chain, and then we're cutting out the sub on this to clean it up and make sure it's not going to be too much of a boom boom on the club system. Then we have a kick. Nice fat tech house kick. The method we're using here though is actually the filter envelope kick. So you can see I tuned the kick, but I've actually got a low pass filter on here. So here's the original kick. See, I had a little bit too much tail. By making this, basically turning the filter down and then there's a really quick envelope on it, it makes it fit the groove a lot better. Because you get this short, tight kick. Then on the whole group, we're just cutting a bit more sub. Again, just cutting out those like frequencies that would weigh the whole mix down. Converting everything to mono because you want your low end to be in mono. And then we have sort of the main drums. Right, so this is the main hi-hat and the main clap. I treat these as one thing. I think the groove really is like these. The kick, bass line, and then that hi-hat and clap, right? So you want to dial in the kick and bass first, and then get this stuff. Now for the hi-hat, the key here is you can hear it's very tight. Right, it's these two like 909-esque hi-hats that I'm layering. One's very punchy, and then one's got a bit more body to it. And then for the clap, same deal. You can see one is very like, and then one's giving you the, so you put them together, and it's all gonna sit right on top of the mix. And that's how you get these main drums to sound kind of louder than like, you know, your background percussion, is having it just be layered and be so fat for those main sounds. So then we have some background percussion programmed in these drum racks. So what we're doing here is I've got this one and then this one underneath it. Right, so it's these drum racks. I grabbed these over here where it says drums, and you can literally just take, there's a ton of kits over here with all this percussion in it. And I just grabbed a few of those because, you know, when you have this main groove, right, obviously this is sounding good. But this is where you need to start bringing in some groove elements to kind of contrast what's happening in that bass line and the really steady groove of the other drums. And you can see this stuff works really well. So yeah, again, just grabbing these drum racks can give you a lot of percussion that you wouldn't have really thought of using. And then once you bring it in, you find really good uses for it. We've also got some percussion loops. We have this conga. Right, so you want to bring in some live percussion too. I think that's important for that disco house vibe. It's like the rigid program stuff is really fat, but then you also need this live stuff to bring it to life. We got just a high pass and then a side chain on that. We've also got this live percussion. Very much like, you know, Latin percussion, kind of like world percussion style. So we've got those two. You don't want to use too many loops, but if you can find two like that fit together because they're doing two very different things, that's the key. So that's all the drums and the bass. Then we have the sample. So what's happening here is we're actually using two different samples and kind of creating one sequence out of them to where it ends up sounding like one sample, but it's actually pretty intricate what's happening here. So I've got these two sample chops. So that one, and then this one. Right, so it's one of those cases where you really can't hear it when you hear those, but basically it's those two different sample chops, right, which are in the same key. They're from the same track. They are just, yeah, being like, and then one of them's being pitched down -5. So I took, basically what I did is you can do this chopping. The key to this, to get that kind of like nice disco house chop, is you want to do slice to new MIDI track, and then it's half notes. So what's happening now is you get these chops. Right, where it's like a kick and a snare, and then you're basically going to patch together sequences of those to create this. So what I did here is I did this in the reverse order, so you can see it was going like, so I went, right, those two, and then it stops, and then you get this one. So this one was going, right, and then I just did those in reverse order. So it's an example of like taking, you know, the reverse order of what the sample's originally doing and being able to chop it up and create something better. And this is not hard to do with Ableton, right? This would be pretty annoying back in the day to do all this chopping on like an EMU or an MPC or something like that. But with Ableton, you can do these really complex chops pretty easily and actually come up with some very, very creative stuff for this. So then for effects on here, I'll just turn them all off and you can hear. So here's what it sounds like dry. It's obviously dope, but there's just a little bit of sauce we want to give it. So I've got a phaser. It's a really subtle phaser though. Like there's not that many notches. It's not super watery. It's just a little bit of movement and kind of like, also it gets brought out by this overdrive. So then we have this. You can see it just brings out some mids and highs, almost like an exciter. We got a high pass and then we're side chaining it. And there we are. So that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full entire project file, an amazing template for making your own disco house tracks. You can even get your own sample and drop it in here, and like I said, make a ton of tracks just out of this one template. Definitely don't miss out, guys. This is a really, really great value, especially for the price. It's super accessible. Thanks for the support, everybody. Every little bit helps, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.